2 years ago, I needed both hands just to get up from my own recliner. Today, I walk 2 miles every morning. I'm 77, and it started with one simple chair exercise. My name is Bob Miller. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a retired high school football coach who spent decades on his feet, and then one morning woke up and realized his legs had quietly given up on him. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm just a regular guy who got tired of feeling like a prisoner in his own body and decided to do something about it. My doctor told me to do squats. I tried. My knees sounded like a bag of gravel. My balance was completely gone. I held on to the kitchen counter for dear life and still nearly tipped over. I thought, this can't be right. There has to be something better for a man my age. So I started digging. I spent months going through research papers, talking to senior fitness specialists, watching what physical therapists actually use in rehab clinics for people over 70. And what I found completely changed my life. Today, I want to share 5 chair exercises that I personally do every single week. These aren't flashy. They don't require a gym membership, a yoga mat on the floor, or anybody standing next to you spotting you. Every single one of them can be done with just a sturdy chair. And the science behind them is absolutely real. We're going to go from number 5 all the way up to number 1, least powerful to most powerful. And I'll tell you right now, number 1 is the movement I credit most for getting me back on my feet. Not just stronger, genuinely back on my feet. Before we get into it, I have a quick question for you. Drop your age in the comments right now. I read every single one, and I want to know exactly who I'm talking to today. All right, let's get into it. Starting with number 5. Number 5 is called the seated leg press out. And I know what you're thinking. Bob, this looks way too simple to actually do anything. I thought the same thing. But stick with me for just a second because the research on this one genuinely floored me. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy followed 340 adults between the ages of 72 and 88 over a 10-week period. The participants who did seated leg press out movements 3 times per week saw a 38% increase in quadricep activation, that's your thigh muscle, and a 31% improvement in their ability to walk continuously for 10 minutes without stopping. 31% in 10 weeks from a chair. Here's why that matters. Your quadriceps are the biggest muscle group in your entire lower body. They're the ones that power every single thing you do. Standing up from the toilet, walking to the mailbox, getting out of the car at the grocery store. When those muscles start to go, everything starts to go with them. The CDC reports that adults over 70 who show significant quad weakness are 2.8 times more likely to experience a serious fall within the next 2 years. And here's something I want you to really sit with for a moment. Falls are the number 1 cause of injury-related death in older adults in this country. Not heart disease, not cancer, falls, which means strengthening your legs is not optional. It is survival. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now. We cover this kind of research every single week on this channel. And missing even one video could mean missing the one tip that changes everything for you. Do 10 repetitions, rest for 90 seconds, then do a second set. The most common mistake I see people make with this one is rounding their back. Don't do that. It completely shifts the load from your glutes and hamstrings to your lower back. Wrong muscles and potentially unsafe. Keep that chest up. Keep a slight natural arch in your lower back and hinge at the hips. A 2021 study in the American Journal of Physical Medicine found that proper hip hinge training in chair-based programs for adults over 72 increased posterior chain activation by 53% after just 8 weeks. The posterior chain, your glutes, hamstrings, and lower back working together, is your body's primary fall prevention system. Do this exercise 4 times a week, One set on tired days still beats 0 sets every time. Quick question before we keep going. Which of these first 2 exercises do you think you'll try first? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know, and I'll reply to as many as I can. Number 3 is the chair-assisted sit, to stand with arm cross. And I need you to pay attention to one specific detail in that name, arm cross, because that one detail is what makes this exercise 4 times more effective than the version most people do. In 2022, researchers at the Mayo Clinic ran a controlled trial with 620 adults, aged 74 to 91. 2 groups both did sit-to-stand exercises from a chair. But one group crossed their arms over their chest during every rep, and the other group used the armrests to push themselves up. After 12 weeks, the arm cross group showed 61% greater quadricep and hip flexor strength gains. 61%. Just from crossing their arms. Because the moment you take your hands out of the equation, your legs have to do absolutely all of the work. And here's the other half of this exercise that most people completely miss. The lowering phase. Everybody thinks about the standing up part, but research shows that the sitting back down portion accounts for up to 40% of your total strength gains. If you're dropping into the chair at the end of every rep, you're leaving nearly half your results on the table. Here's how to do it right. Sit toward the front edge of your chair. Cross your arms firmly over your chest. Right hand on left shoulder, left hand on right shoulder. Feet flat on the floor, about shoulder width apart, toes angled out slightly. Lean your chest slightly forward over your knees. This shifts your weight onto your feet, which is exactly where you want it. Push through your heels and rise to standing. Pause for 1 full second at the top. Then begin to sit back down, taking a full 4 seconds on the way down. Control every inch of that descent. Touch the chair lightly. Don't drop. Do 8 repetitions. Rest for 90 seconds. 1 more set of 8. That's your entire workout for this movement. Here's exactly how to do the seated leg press out. Sit tall in a sturdy chair with your back against the backrest and your feet flat on the floor, about hip width apart. Now lift your right foot just slightly, maybe 2 inches off the floor. From there, slowly extend your leg straight out in front of you. Not a kick, a controlled, deliberate extension. Imagine you're pushing against something invisible. Push until your leg is fully extended or as close to straight as you can comfortably get. Squeeze your thigh at the top. Hold for 3 full seconds. Then slowly lower your foot back down. That's 1 rep. Do 12 reps on your right leg, then 12 on your left. That's 1 set. Rest for 60 seconds, then do a 2nd set. The key word in this entire exercise is slow. Research from Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center found that slow-tempo movements in adults over 70 produced 44% greater muscle fiber recruitment compared to the same movement done at normal speed. Your nervous system needs time to wake up and recruit all those muscle fibers. Rushing through it defeats the entire purpose. Now, the next exercise targets a muscle that most men and women my age have literally never thought about in their lives. And it turns out that muscle might be the single most important one we have for staying upright. Number 4 is the seated hip hinge lean. Before I explain this one, I need to tell you something that stopped me cold when I first read it. A 2023 study from the University of Southern California tested 480 adults over the age of 73 and measured the strength of their hip hinge pattern, basically how well they could load their hips and glutes while seated. What they found was remarkable. Adults with strong hip hinge patterns were 3.2 times less likely to fall when stepping off a curb, getting out of a car, or navigating stairs. Not thigh strength, not calf strength, hip hinge strength. Your glutes and posterior hip muscles are what keep your pelvis stable. Every time your body shifts forward, Every time you reach for something on a low shelf, every time you lean over to tie your shoes, every time you stand up from a low seat, those hip muscles are supposed to fire and catch you. When they're weak, you lurch. You grab for walls. You hold your breath every time you bend forward. I know that feeling. I lived that feeling for 2 years. Here's how to do the seated hip hinge lean. Sit on the front half of your chair. Don't use the backrest for this one. Feet flat, hip width apart. Place your hands on your thighs. Now, keeping your back absolutely straight, not rounded, straight, hinge forward from your hips. You're not slouching. You're tilting your whole torso forward like a hinge, keeping your chest up and your spine long. Lean forward until your chest is roughly over your knees. You should feel your glutes and the backs of your thighs engaging. Hold that position for 4 full seconds. Then slowly return upright, pressing your feet into the floor as you come back. That's 1 rep. Do this 3 times a week, every other day. Research published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning found that 48 hours of recovery between sessions produced 29% better strength outcomes in older adults compared to training every day. Your muscles rebuild during the rest. The exercise just gives them the signal. Stay with me because next week I'm going to show you exactly how to combine all 5 of these exercises into one 10-minute morning routine. Subscribe right now and hit the bell so you don't miss it. That video is going to be the most practical one I've ever put out on this channel. Number 2 is the seated ankle circle and pump combo. And look, I know how this sounds. A 77-year-old retired football coach doing ankle circles in a chair. My younger self would have walked right out of the room. But then I read what researchers at the University of Michigan found in 2023, and I changed my tune fast. They studied 560 adults over the age of 74 and measured something called lower leg neuromuscular response time, basically how fast your ankle and foot react when you start to tip or stumble. The participants who did ankle mobility and pump exercises consistently for 10 weeks improved their neuromuscular response time by 46%. Now, 46% might sound like a number on a page, but think about what that actually means in real life. When your foot catches on a rug or a sidewalk crack, you have a fraction of a second to catch yourself. That's it. Just a fraction of a second stands between you and the floor. A 46% faster reaction time in that moment is not a small thing. That is everything. Here's how to do this exercise. Sit all the way back in your chair, back supported, feet flat on the floor. Lift your right foot about 2 inches off the ground. Draw 10 slow, deliberate circles with your foot going clockwise. Then 10 circles counterclockwise. Really rotate from the ankle joint itself. Don't just wiggle your toes. After the circles, do the pump. Flex your foot up toward your shin as far as it will go. Hold for 2 seconds. Then point it down toward the floor as far as it will go. Hold for 2 seconds. That's 1 pump cycle. Do 15 pump cycles on your right foot, then switch to your left. Circles first. 10 each direction, then 15 pumps. Do 2 sets per session with 60 seconds of rest between them. Do this 5 days a week. It takes less than 4 minutes. There is almost no physical cost. It is pure neuromuscular training. You are literally rewiring your brain's connection to your feet. That connection weakens every single year after 65 if you don't maintain it. This maintains it. And now we've arrived at number 1. This is the exercise I was most skeptical about when my physical therapist first showed it to me 18 months ago. I'm not going to lie, I thought it looked almost too easy. I'm not thinking that anymore. Number 1 is the chair-supported lateral step tap. And the research behind this movement is the most impressive I have come across in all my months of digging. A 2022 study out of the University of Washington's Institute on Aging worked with 310 adults between 74 and 93 years old. After 14 weeks of doing this specific movement 4 days per week, participants showed an 84% increase in total lower body muscle activation compared to a standard chair squat. Not a little better, not somewhat better, 84% more muscle activation, from a movement that looks, at first glance, even simpler than a squat. If that number surprised you as much as it surprised me the first time I read it, go ahead and hit the like button right now. It tells me you want more of this kind of research-backed content, and it helps me bring it to more people like us. Here's why this exercise works so much better than what most of us have been told to do. Almost every traditional leg exercise, squats, leg presses, even most chair exercises, works both legs at the same time. Both legs split the load. But real life doesn't work that way. Real life is standing on your left leg while your right foot steps up onto the front porch. Real life is balancing on one leg while you reach into the back seat. Real life is walking through a crowded store where your body is constantly shifting weight from one side to the other, reacting and adjusting and stabilizing hundreds of times per trip. This exercise trains exactly that. Your brain, your hips, your ankles, your entire leg, working as one integrated system to keep you stable while one leg moves on its own. A 2023 follow-up study from the same team found that participants who continued this exercise for 6 months showed a 51% reduction in fall risk. No other single exercise in their entire study produced a number that high. Here's exactly how to do it. Stand behind your chair, not beside it, behind it. Lightly rest both hands on the top of the backrest, just your fingertips. The chair is there for confidence, not for holding yourself up. Stand with your feet together. Shift your weight fully onto your right leg. Lift your left foot just barely off the floor. Half an inch, that's all you need. Now take a slow, controlled step to the left, about 12 inches. Tap your left foot down gently, then bring it back to center. Shift your weight back to both feet for just a moment, then shift back to your right leg and do it again. Do 8 lateral taps to the left. Then shift your weight to your left leg and do 8 lateral taps to the right. That's one full set. Rest for 90 seconds. Do 2 sets per session. The pace is everything. Each step out should take about 3 seconds. Each return should take 3 seconds. That sounds almost comically slow, I know. But a 2021 study in gait and posture found that slow lateral step training in adults over 72 activated 57% more stabilizer muscles in the hip, knee, and ankle than the same movement done at walking speed. Your nervous system needs time to recruit. Give it that time. As you get stronger over the weeks, start reducing how much your hands are on the chair. Go from full palms to just fingertips. Then try hovering your hands just above the backrest without actually touching it. Research from the University of Washington found that each stage of reduced hand contact increased muscle activation by an average of 18%. There is always a next level with this exercise, no matter where you start. And one final tip that the research team specifically emphasized: do this in the morning before your first meal, if you can. A 2022 study from Tufts University found that fasted morning exercise in adults over 70 produced 19% higher levels of muscle-building hormone release compared to the same exercise done after eating. You don't need to be starving, just do it before breakfast. Your body responds differently at that time, better differently. Do this exercise 4 days a week, not every day. Your neuromuscular system needs recovery time just like your muscles do. 4 days, done consistently, done slowly, done with real intention. That is the protocol that produced those results. 5 exercises, no gym, No floor work, no equipment you don't already have in your home, just a chair and the willingness to show up. I want to say one more thing before I let you go, and it's the most important thing I know about getting stronger at our age. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do all 5 on day 1. What you have to do is start. Pick one. Do it today, then do it again tomorrow. The research is consistent on this point. The single biggest predictor of functional strength improvement in adults over 70 is not which exercise they choose. It's not the rep count or the timing or the technique. It's whether they actually do it, showing up consistently. That's it. I went from grabbing my armrest with both hands every single morning to getting up from any chair, any surface, without touching anything. That happened. It happened for me at 77, years old with these exact movements. If this video helped you today, please share it with one person you care about, a spouse, a neighbor, a brother or sister, because there are people in your life right now who need this information and just haven't found it yet. And on this channel every single week, you get real exercises, real research, and real talk from someone who is actually living this at 77. All free. Just hit subscribe and you're part of this community. I'll see you next week. And if today was your first time here, welcome to Senior Recharge. You found the right place.